guys, Tiny House Dreaming here. As you can see, I'm back at the Ramada in Salt Lake City, Utah. We got back yesterday, me and my trainer, at about 10:30. We had to take our truck through the wash bay. So for any of you guys who are interested in how a big truck gets washed, or to kind of just see a little bit of it, I filmed for like a minute and a half or something. I'll put it at the end of this video, but just letting you guys know everything's going good. I just got a good shower. I was able to wash my hair, and actually I'm letting it dry. Yeah, like I don't have a roommate this time, so you can see I got a mess. The hotel does have a washer and dryer room, so I have most of my clothes are getting washed and dried. Like, I'm washing them and drying them myself, obviously. I got my pocket full of quarters here for the dryer. They're already in the washer. And you can see like my bag is empty pretty much, so like almost all my clothes are being washed and dried. And if you're interested, it's like $1.50 for the washer. They only have 3 washers, and $1.50 for the dryer. And there's 3 dryers, so I'm taking up 2 of them. I'm hogging the place. But anyways, I got an email from one of my subscribers asking if I had any advice about night driving, or driving in the dark, and driving in the snow. Again, keep in mind, I am a rookie. I don't even have my CDL yet. Like, I haven't tested out, but I have kind of experienced both of those things. So just speaking to you as a rookie, the advice that I would have for night driving, one, and I did ask my trainer, like when I got the email, I said, do you have any advice that you could tell me that I could pass along to my subscribers that are interested? And basically her thing was, make sure that you feel safe. Make sure that you feel safe. Like, if you ever don't feel safe, whether even if it's in the daytime, maybe it's super windy or whatever the conditions are, never drive when you're not feeling safe, or like you feel like you don't have control over the truck. Just stop driving. Don't literally stop in the middle of the road, but pull over to the safest place. Now, always keep in mind, for any of you, all of you truckers that are already truckers, you already know this. But for anybody that's coming out here, always try to not pull on the side of the highway. Like, you always want to try to get your truck to a rest area, which usually has truck parking, or you want to get to a truck stop. A lot of Walmarts throughout the country have truck parking, where like the long spots particularly for trucks, where you're not having to park where cars are. Always, unless it's like an accident or you're like leaking oil and you really just cannot get to the next exit or the next rest stop, always try to not pull off on the side of the freeway. That's very dangerous. So if you can avoid doing that, please do. But anyways, that's just a general rule. No matter what the conditions are like, that doesn't matter if it's night, daytime, snowing, perfect weather, it doesn't matter. Like, always try to get off of the road safely, not on the side. Of course, if you get in an accident or something's wrong with your truck where you just literally cannot make it to the next exit, then you have to do what you have to do. But if you can avoid it at all costs, avoid it. Like, don't just pull over like, oh yeah, let me check this, like, try to get to the next exit and then check your Rand McNally, or then check your Atlas, or whatever you're trying to do. Just try to do it off the side of the road. So night driving, like my trainer said, only when you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, don't do it, period. Always leave a cushion, especially, that goes for like some of a lot of this stuff is in general, but more so at night, because you always want to leave a cushion regardless of when you're driving, but more so be mindful of it at night, because at night it's harder for, like, as drivers, you kind of learn to count the seconds ahead of you that a car is, or the next truck in front of you is, by looking at like pillars or some type of marker, and then you count the seconds back of how long it takes you to reach that same marker. At night, it's not as easy as it is in the daytime to see certain markers, or, there are visible markers, but it's just easier in the daytime to do that and to be aware of kind of how far the car ahead of them is, and then how far the car ahead of you is, and where you're at. It's easier, you know, the more light there is, the easier it is to see, period. That's just a rule of thumb. So at night, kind of be more mindful of the cushion that you have between you and the car ahead of you. If the car ahead of you, I mean, if it's a truck, you're not necessarily going to be able to see what's ahead of that truck. But if there's a car ahead of you and that car is kind of tailgating the car ahead of it, you know, be mindful of those type of things and keep a bigger cushion between you and that car ahead of you. Just in case they have to stomp on their brakes, you're well back. So you have time to kind of gauge that, because always keep in mind, and for those of you who aren't truck drivers and you're just watching this because you like me so much, thank you. But for those of you that aren't truck drivers, be kind of aware that for big trucks, and this is something that I wasn't aware of until like I actually got here and I'm starting to learn stuff behind the wheel of a big truck, and I'm like seeing like, oh wow, like I was probably one of those drivers, like, you know, just not because I didn't care or didn't have consideration for truckers. I just never really knew or didn't know a trucker to, like, I just didn't know, you know, it's sheer ignorance. But it is not like the way cars, you know, like if you see something ahead of you and you're in a car, you can kind of like quickly whip around, or, you know, you have the ability to like try to swerve out of the way. For trucks, there really is, I mean, we can swerve out of the way, but it's not as easy, or it doesn't happen as quickly, or it's not as safe to do so in a big truck, because big trucks, if you make quick motions in a big truck, you're likely to tip over. So like when people think like, oh, I'm going to just pull in front of this truck, and if, you know, if something goes wrong, they can just go around me. It's not that easy to go around you, because if I whip real quick, your trailer in your truck is going to roll over, and you could possibly die if you're the person in that truck. And depending on what lane you're starting to roll over from and which direction, you could end up down a ditch and die, like I just said. Or if you're rolling this way into oncoming traffic, these cars are smacking into you and you could still die. You could kill other people. Like, it's a lot for a truck to just kind of swerve. You're not just going to be able to swerve really that easy. So if you're in a car, kind of keep that, be mindful of that as you're, you know, going around big trucks and everything. Like, don't make quick turns in front of them. And like, keep in mind that a lot of these big trucks are loaded most of the time, like where they have a load in their trailer that's attached to their truck. You can be up to 80,000 pounds in these big trucks. That is not going to stop as quickly as a car by any means. I mean, and especially if you're on the highway, like, you're not going to stop quick at all. So kind of be mindful of that for car drivers. And like, even for us truck drivers, when we're in cars, you want to be mindful of your fellow driver. And like, I mean, I think it's kind of natural for truck drivers to be mindful, just because you, at this point, you know, like the danger. And another thing for car drivers, it's been like already, it's only been a week and it's driving me crazy, is when people are merging, like if cars or SUVs and like, you know, small four-wheeled vehicles are coming onto the freeway and you see a big truck coming and like you're just da-da-da, you know, lollygagging along, like, oh, that truck will move. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So take that into consideration. Either kind of pick up your speed to get in front of me, or slow, you know, fall back and let me go, and then just merge into the next lane, you know, get on the freeway. And I know you don't want to be behind us big trucks because we're slow, you know, and just merge over regularly. But like, don't get to come in where like you're head in head with me. Like, I'm sitting here, you're sitting here, and like you're trying to match me. Because at the end of the day, the big truck's always going to win. We don't want to win, because that means that somebody's going to get hurt. We have to go through all of this crap, you know, being investigated. You might die. I could try to do something crazy and swerve out the way and roll over and die. We don't want that. But like, keep in mind, you're never going to win against the big truck, ever. That's not going to happen. Sorry, my rant is over. So anyways, back to night driving tips that I have experienced so far that I think could help somebody. Emergency flashers. Definitely, if you slow down, I'm not sure, like, people have different like kind of judgment call on this. To me, 45 miles per hour is a good thing. Some people I've heard say 50 miles per hour. Some people say 40 miles per hour. It's kind of on you to make a good judgment. But if you are going slow, like how my trainer said, always be safe. So if you see, like, you know, I'll try to get a little thing of it and put a picture up, but there's like a road sign that has like a little curve to let you know like that there's a curvy road coming ahead or a sharp turn, like, and sometimes you'll even see like the signs that show like a truck tipping over where it's warning you as a truck driver, that it's easy rollover, like the curve is sharp enough where if you don't slow down, you can roll over easily. So if you see those types of signs, always don't feel bad about slowing down to where you feel safe. Regardless if there's 10 trucks behind you and you're like, okay, I know that, like, don't get so flustered that you feel like you have to speed because of somebody else or the whatever's happening around you. If you don't feel safe, like, and also, another thing. Okay, let me finish that thought. If you don't feel safe, slow down. It's everybody on the road, they might get upset and like you'll start seeing trucks go around you. That's fine. Let them go around you. Because we would all, like, if there are 10 trucks behind you and something happens and you're going too fast and you roll over, chances are that those 10 trucks behind you are going to smack into you. At some point, one of those trucks are not going to be able to stop. And it's where everybody on that road is going to be having a very bad day. Or we're talking about night driving, a very bad night. But like I said, this kind of goes for any type of driving. This is kind of common sense, but more so at night, and more so in the snow. I'll get to that next, but these are kind of rules just in general. Another thing, keep in mind that, you know how when you're coming off an exit or you're going around a turn, it will say like 30 miles per hour, like the speed limit changes where you need to reduce your speed because it's a sharp turn or because you're coming off an exit or something like that. Keep in mind that those speeds that are posted are for four-wheel cars, trucks, SUVs, not big trucks. So you want to be going slower than that speed that's posted, because your turnover, you know, your chances to roll over are a lot greater than just a regular car or SUV or something. So those speeds are for four-wheel cars, not for you. So go a little bit slower than that. And even if it says 30, if you feel comfortable at 20, go 20. Because like I said, everybody wants to get home at the end of the day. And it's better, I would rather be pissed off for a minute while you went a little bit slower than for you to be speeding, can't keep up, and you're really not safely driving at that speed. You roll over, I slam into you, I roll over, the car behind me slams into me, and we're all having a bad day. That's not a good thing. So if you have to slow down, like I said, for me, I say 45 miles per hour. Different people have different judgment calls, and that's on you. You're the one driving. Just kind of keep in mind what would be helpful for other drivers, because the reason you will do this is for the other drivers. You want to put your emergency flashers on. If you're going slower than the normal speed of traffic, and especially at nighttime, but I think even in the daytime you should do this, put your emergency flashers on. So say the speed limit is 55, but there's like one of these curvy things coming up. And like for me, I'm a new driver. I feel comfortable at like 40 to 45 miles per hour just because I'm not really sure yet my capabilities. I'm still learning the feel of the truck, when it's empty, when it's loaded, different things. So like for right now in my learning stages, I mean, I might be able to do it at 50 miles per hour. But while I'm learning and getting the feel of it, I'm comfortable doing it at 40 miles per hour. So I'm going to hit my emergency flashers just to let all the cars and trucks behind me know that I am going slower than regular traffic. Truckers like kind of know, they know that you're like not broke down. They get why you're doing it, that you're going slower. If you're ever going up a grade where, you know, you're going to go slower because you're really heavy, and it might say 55 miles per hour up this hill, but you can only do 30 literally because your truck can only do 30 miles per hour because the grade is really high. Put on your emergency flashers. Let other people behind you know, so that way they don't get right up on you to realize, oh crap, this car is not going, because you might not necessarily have your brakes on. Like if you're trying to climb a hill, you could be going 30 miles per hour in a 55 mile an hour lane or highway. And if you're going up the hill, you're not going to have your brakes on. So there is no brake light indicator to the people behind you. So like, you know, if they're going to regular, like especially cars, if they're coming along behind you 65 miles per hour, you know, they don't realize how slow you're going until they're right up on you. And the way people are on their cell phones nowadays are just not paying attention or arguing with their kids or trying to pick the CD up, they might get right up on you, and like before they can slam on their brakes, they're in the back of your truck. So if you have your emergency blinkers on, they have an indication way back there. They see that something's going on. Now cars might think, oh, this truck's broke down or breaking down. Other trucks will probably get the fact that, okay, they're going slower. That's the thing that truckers do. Be one of those truckers that do that. And it's just common courtesy to let anybody know, warn them that there's something different about how you're driving versus everybody else. And then they can start getting around you, or other trucks can start getting around you back there, you know, or kind of looking for their cushion to go around you, like, you know, before they get right up on you and have to slam on their brakes. Because one thing you never want to do as a trucker, you never want to have to slam on your brakes, ever. That's not a good day. I mean, you know, and when you're driving streets and stuff like that, you're not slamming on your brakes. You're going slow enough where you can gradually press on the brake. When you're on the freeway, if you have to slam on the brakes, that's not a good thing. So yeah, use your emergency flashers. 45 miles per hour for me is a decent thing. But I mean, if you're in an 80 mile per hour highway, like I think Idaho or Iowa or somewhere we were driving through had an 80 mile an hour speed limit, then I would say at 50, you know, like put on your emergency, like kind of just judge your situation or like where you're driving at and pick a decent mile per hour to like kind of have in your head, like, okay, if I go lower than this is what I'm going to do. Because sometimes 40 or 45 might be like you might be going too slow where you should have put it on prior to that. So just kind of judge, but get in the habit of using your emergency flashers when you are going slower than the regular speed of traffic. Make sure for night driving, make sure that you're fully rested. Like, it's a tendency, even if you work at night or whatever, most people get tired, or you'll find yourself yawning when it's dark. Like, your body, something about, you know, being a human being, like when it's nighttime, you're kind of whatever the word is, to, you know, be more tired than you are in the bright daylight. So I mean, it's perfect. Like, a lot of people are night drivers. They drive better at night. They just like the conditions better. There's less traffic to deal with. You know, there's the benefits of driving at night. In fact, I kind of like driving at night better than I like driving during the day. But keep in mind that it's human nature to kind of get more tired at night and when it's dark. So just make sure, if you're a night driver, or if, you know, you should trip plan. That's a good thing to do. So if you trip plan and you kind of see, like, based on your load or the miles you have to go through or the certain states you have to go through, or maybe you're driving through like really big cities that have like horrible traffic. So you just know that it's better for me to drive in the nighttime through this part, you know, because some trips that you might have or load you might have, it might literally take you 3 or 4 days to get to the destination. So like, you'll have where you can only drive, so many hours that day, you'll have to rest. So you kind of want a trip plan at the beginning of your trip. And, you know, there might be a day where you say, okay, well, this day, by these many miles, I'll be like in LA. So I kind of think that driving at night's better. So kind of plan out, but make sure that when you're driving at night that you're fully rested. So when your body does kind of have that like automatic clock thingy where it knows, okay, it's nighttime, I'm going to get a little tired, it doesn't really affect you. Because you don't want to like be staying awake by just pumping yourself with coffee, because you're really still tired. And that coffee, once you crash, you're going to crash. And like, a lot of people don't have the common sense to actually like, okay, I just crashed off all that coffee I was drinking, let me pull over. Like, people try to push through it. So given the fact, like, understand human nature that you're going to try to push through it, get your rest, you know, so you're well rested when you're driving at night. And then the last thing that I have on my little list, and I know this is kind of silly, but kind of not, is a lot of creatures come out at night, like deers and stuff. I'm not sure what the statistics are, but most of those things happen at night. Like, I don't know why. So be kind of mindful if you're night driving to like be more vigilant of like deers or raccoons or whatever. Because even though raccoons are big, you're going to run over them and kill them. some people have this like reaction. It's the reaction that you have when you like see something whip in front of you, kind of want to swerve a little bit. And like I was saying earlier, big trucks can't really swerve safely. So be mindful of that. And deers, I mean, you really don't want to hit a deer because deers are really big. I mean, the truck's gonna win, but you know, it's not always the neatest thing, or like the bumpity running over them, or like sometimes you'll just hit them and they'll smack to the side. I mean, this sounds disgusting and everything, and of course try not to hit a deer, but you're not going to always be able to just brake when you see a deer. Like sometimes you're going to have to just keep going. So kind of be more vigilant to watch well ahead of you, because a lot of times the deer's like, they'll kind of be standing on the side of the road and like they're kind of debating, and you can kind of see them like they want to run out, they don't want to run out. And you know, the sooner that you can see them, you might not necessarily be able to stop, because like you can't just bring a big truck to a stop on the highway. I mean, you know, that's not safe either. So you kind of have to judge your situation. But the sooner you see them, the more time you have to react and think about, okay, what am I going to do? Can I merge over here? Or if I slow down a little bit, will the deer shoot in front of me where I don't have to hit it? Like, you know, you can have you have more time to think about how you're going to react versus it just jetting in front of you and you have no time at all. And your human nature might be react to press on the brakes, and then that causes a whole set of other problems. So be mindful that creatures come out more in the night. And with that being said, kind of keep your eye further down. Like they tell truck drivers to look 12 to 15 seconds. And if you know how to kind of mark your seconds, then you know that 12 to 15 seconds is a good distance. But if you can't always look further than that. But if you can, you know, do so. So that's kind of all the tips that I have for night driving that I've figured out so far. And then snow driving, again, like my trainer said, only if you feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, don't feel bad, don't feel pressure, don't feel like, okay, this load is due at midnight, it's 9 o'clock and I still have 200 miles to go. Don't feel pressure. Pull over as soon as you safely pull over. Send a message to your driver manager or your fleet manager or whatever your company is calling it, and let them know, you know, these conditions are safe. Same goes for wind. Like if there's really heavy wind and you don't, any type of condition, if you don't feel safe, don't drive, because when you're not feeling safe is usually when you feel like you don't have control of the vehicle, and that's never a good situation to be in. Your company is not going to want to put you in that situation. 9.5 times out of 10, they're going to be okay with you pulling over. So just send them a message or call, or however you contact your DM or your FM or whatever you call it. Send them a message and let them know, you know, I pulled over because I don't feel safe, and like kind of give them an explanation. Like the winds are at 75 miles per hour and I feel my trailer blowing over, or whatever it is. Let them know. They'll usually be okay with it. Make sure that you can see the lanes, or if you can't see the lanes, like where you're driving, like, you know, the little markers of the lane so you can stay in your lane, at least make sure that you can see the tire tracks from other trucks, you know, so you're not swerving or you're not in another lane and don't even realize it, because a lot of these highways, like they have like deep, you know, like the side of the highway will be like a ditch or whatever. Like it's not just flat land going out into the vast nowhere, you know, like there's something on the sides where you don't want to accidentally, not even trying to, be pushing other cars, you know, off the road, or like forcing them, because there's no way a car is going to push a big truck back into their lane. So like basically as a big truck, you kind of are owning the road. If you start swerving, you're pushing whatever's next to you either into the median or down the ditch, or, you know, whatever the situation may be. So make sure that you can see well enough that you can stay in your lane. Or if you can't see the markers, like I said, make sure that you are aware enough of, okay, I can't see the markers, but I can see the tire tracks from other trucks that have come before me, and keep your truck in those tracks so you know that you're in your lane, and constantly be scanning your mirrors to make sure that you are not kind of swerving in and out of the other lanes. Yeah, so there we go. And black ice, usually the fresh snow, I mean, there could be black ice under the fresh snow, so I guess I won't say that, but be mindful at night when you're driving and it's either fresh, you know, just finished snowing or something like that. Be mindful that there's black ice, and the darker it is, the harder it is for you to be able to see the black ice. I'm sorry, guys. There's like one of those sad animal commercials, and I'm like looking at the dog, so sad. But yeah, so make sure that you're kind of aware that black ice is possibly there. The darker it is, the less you're going to be able to see it. You kind of just have to get used to like what it looks like and how it's shiny versus the different stuff. And, you know, so there's nothing really I can give you of like, this is when black ice, you know, you just have to kind of get used to it and just know that, okay, it's dark. If there is black ice, I can't see it. So of course you want to kind of go slower than you would. Don't be speeding down the freeway. And then this last thing is, I never really thought about it, but then it just happened to us leaving Illinois. These big trucks, and you'll be in a big truck. So when you park at the truck stops or rest areas or wherever you're parked at, and like it's snowing, like say you stop because you don't feel safe and it's snowing. All this snow is building up on top of your trailer, which is just a nice, flat, lovely surface for something to build up. It's not sliding down like the top of a roof of a house or anything like that. It's a nice, big, long, 53-foot flat surface for all of this snow to just sit and pile up. And it's piling up and piling up and piling up. And at some point, it stops being this nice, fluffy snow that you make the snowman with. And it is thick sheets of ice. Like, especially as it sits up there and kind of condenses on top of each other, it becomes like these sheets of ice, kind of like the icicle things that like build on houses. You know how it's hard and like it's heavy. It's not like lightweight snow like that snow that was falling on me the other day. So what had happened was my trainer was driving. We were right on the border of Illinois going into Iowa. And this truck, I don't even know what company it was. It was a man in the truck. And he just like, we were in the slow lane and he all of a sudden like just came right in front of us. Like he didn't leave any type of cushion between him and us, like waited a few seconds and then come over. Like he came right in front of us. And I guess the momentum as he was coming in front of us, this sheet of ice slid off the back of off the top of his trailer and like came right at, my trainer was driving, I was sitting in the passenger seat, and it came right at her face. Like literally, she was happened to be like looking in the rearview mirror, like, cause this all was in a matter of a second and a half probably. She was looking in the side mirror, and I'm looking ahead, and I see this sheet of ice just like literally flinging at us. And I didn't know where it was going to hit on the windshield, but it was a thick sheet of ice. So I, like, in my head, I thought it was going to break through the window. And it smacked right where her face was. And it didn't break the window. It did leave a little crack in her windshield, but it didn't break the windshield. But like, if the ice sheet was any bigger, it probably would have. And that scared the crap out of me. And it made me definitely add this to the list, because I probably wouldn't even have thought about it before. Like, I guess you kind of have to experience that happen to be like, this does happen. And I realized that like these trucks, they build up this ice. So as you're going, you know, when you start picking up momentum on the freeway and the wind is blowing because it's cold and it's windy, the wind is just blowing those sheets of ice off. So you want to make sure that, if you're the truck pulling in front of another truck, make sure that you have that cushion. You're leaving the driver behind you enough cushion. Like, don't just pull right in front of them. I mean, that's dangerous for other reasons as well, but I'm more speaking about the ice sheets right this second. So if you're the truck pulling in front of another truck, make sure that you pull ahead enough to where you're giving that driver behind you some cushion. If you're the driver behind and somebody just pulls ahead of you, obviously they're not considerate. So you have to take it upon yourself, instead of getting pissed off and like riding their butt. Be smart and think about your safety, because you don't want one of those ice sheets to come through your windshield and smack you in the face. Could knock you out where you unconscious behind this big thing. It's just not good. So you be the smart one and you start slowing down to create that cushion that they didn't give you. Because really the truck that's coming in front of you should be giving you that cushion. But if they're not smart enough to, you give yourself that cushion, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You're the one. The ice ain't going forward. It's coming back to you. So there you go. Those are my tips. That was the last thing that I could think of about snowing. So, yeah, there you go. There's plenty of drivers that are subs. So thank you guys for watching. I know all of this stuff you've heard before or like been through it. So I appreciate you guys bearing through and listening to it anyways. But if you guys have any advice for me or any of the other subs that are coming into trucking or even cars, because some of this advice is good for people that are driving four-wheel vehicles as well, or to kind of, if you're driving a four-wheel vehicle, to make you mindful of the things that big trucks are having to deal with and think about on the road, to where you might be able to be a little bit safer for us. You know, like for you, knowing these things can make life a little bit easier for us. So if you guys have any advice, any tips, any tricks that you can pass on to me or any of the other drivers, please leave them in the comment. Just take a second and leave them in the comment, because if we can make each other safer, it only makes it safer for us as well, because you're only as safe as like the people on the road next to you. If somebody does something stupid and you're in a big truck, you're going to get hurt too. So it only makes sense to me in my mind, if you know something that can help somebody else, to let us know, because don't let us find out the hard way. Tell us up front. And if I'm a safer driver, then that's only better when you're the truck next to me or behind me or in front of me. So there you go, guys. And hope that helps somebody. Okay, bye. This is how you get your truck washed at the terminal. It's called the Wash Bay. And again, this is Salt Lake City, Utah, not Missouri. But I'm sure, like me, the very first time this happened, this might be your first time ever experiencing a big truck pulling into a wash house. So I'm just sharing with you. And see, just like the car washes, you have to go on green, stop on red.
I need the works. I need trailer wash out, trailer wash, truck wash. Get that salt off.
We picked the trailer up from a Sam's Club, and as we rode into Prime, they inspected the vehicle and the trailer, and they said the trailer smells like movie theater popcorn. And it was a girl in the shop that checked it out, so it was nice to see a lady doing what is normally considered a man's job. But she said, yeah, you have to wash it out, because I guess there's some kind of hole in it too as well. We just picked up the empty trailer, so we didn't do it. But she said all the guys, when they work on it, they'll be getting hungry because of the smell of the popcorn. So we are washing it out, and we're also having our truck washed out, because as you guys know, we've been in the snow for the last week, so it's kind of dirty and salty. But there's gonna be not too much exciting stuff that I can show you from the front window. But I think the most exciting thing, you just saw the water spray on us, and it'll be soap next and water to rinse us off. So I'm gonna let you guys go, but there's how you get a big car washed. A big truck. Big truck. Okay, bye guys.